Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022 in Cafeteria B of Westfield High School, 550 Dorian Road, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the Board and to transact any other business to come properly before the Board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, March 17th, 2022, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can I have a roll call?
Sahar Aziz. Rob Bonaccio.
Here.
Mike Beelan.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Layla Morelli.
Here.
Sonal Patel.
Here.
Amy Root.
Here.
Kristen Sonic-Schmeltz.
Here.
Mary Wickens.
Thank you, Dana. Rob, can you lead us in flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rob. Sonal, do you have an announcement tonight?
This is a reminder that Friday, April 1st, is the deadline to nominate an outstanding elementary teacher for the 30th Annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Westfield. More information, including the online nomination form, is posted under Recent News on the district and school websites, in PTO newsletters, and on district social media.
Thank you, Sonal. Layla, do you have an announcement?
I have two tonight. As part of its Meaningful March virtual series, the Parent-Teacher Council Special Education Subcommittee will host its second of 3 virtual presentations tomorrow, March 23rd at 7:30 p.m. The topic will be special education rights and classifications. The Zoom link will be shared soon. Please note the new time, which differs from prior save-the-date emails.
Thank you, Layla.
I have another one.
Oh, second.
Our popular STEAM camp is back at Edison Intermediate School this summer. Taught by Westfield Public Schools teachers for Westfield students in grades 3 through 8, campers will receive a high-quality learning experience while participating in fun, hands-on activities. Due to high demand, registration is on a lottery basis, giving all campers an equal opportunity to be registered for a weekly session. The lottery is open through next Monday, March 28th, with email notification of acceptance sent on March 31st. Visit westfieldsteamcamp.weebly.com for more information and to register for the lottery.
Thank you, Layla. Amy?
Layla, was that STEAM camp or STEM camp?
Do you say STEM? Well, I say STEAM, tomato, tomato.
Okay. But for spelling purposes and looking for a website?
It's STEM.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you very much. Just
I'm
checking.
not talking to you the rest of this meeting.
My turn?
Yes.
All right. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? The Edison cast and crew of the SpongeBob musical are busy rehearsing for performances on Thursday, March 31st at 4 p.m. and on Friday, April 1st and Saturday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. Tickets for the March 31st matinee will be $5 at the door. Tickets for the performances on April 1st and 2nd go on sale on Sunday, March 27th via eis.booktix.com. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Rob, do you have an announcement?
I do. Congratulations to Westfield High School 11th grader Kevin Chen, who was selected to perform with the All-State Orchestra later this year. Kevin, who plays the viola, joined other talented student musicians from around New Jersey in rigorous auditions that included all 12 major scales, 3 minor scales, and excerpts from Johann Sebastian Bach's Suite No. 2 in D minor.
Thank you, Rob. Kristen?
There's still time to purchase tickets for this week's performance of High School Musical at Roseville Intermediate School this Thursday, March 24th at 4 p.m. and on Friday and Saturday, March 25th and 26th at 7 p.m. Visit ris.booktix.com to buy tickets, which will not be sold at the door. Don't miss the opportunity to see this wonderful production. The talented and hardworking cast and crew look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Kristen. Mike?
Yes, the Westfield Green Team is organizing its fourth free market event on Saturday, April 30th from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the South Avenue train station parking lot. Save those unwanted, gently used items. Donate on April 30th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then plan to browse the free market from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And our last announcement, the next meeting of the Board of Education will be held at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 5th, here in Cafeteria B at Westfield High School. The meeting will be live streamed via the district YouTube channel, which viewers can access via the board tab on the district website. The complete agenda will be available on Friday, April 1st, also on the board tab. And now Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. This evening, I'll begin my superintendent's report just with a brief overview of the Student Safety Data System report for the current period. The SSDS system collects incidents of violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, as well as trainings and programs conducted in support of our anti-bullying efforts. Districts are required to submit a report twice annually to the New Jersey Department of Education for two different periods. One is at the start of the school year. Period 1 runs from September 1st through the 31st. And the second period is from January 1st through the 30th. The report on this agenda is for period 1, September 1st through December 31st, and includes the information that I had mentioned earlier regarding incidents, which is defined as confirmed HIB cases, as well as instances of violence, vandalism, substances, and/or weapons. Other incidences leading to removal, and also any of the trainings or programs affiliated with our harassment, intimidation, and bullying prevention. These data points are reviewed by our administration along with other student-specific information in order to review and refine our school-level practices and district trends. If you'd like to view this report, you could do so by clicking on the link on the agenda, and the report will also be posted on the HIB page under district information on the district website. In addition, for my report this evening, I do want to highlight some of the work that has been taking place around the school district over the past several months, and certainly with our recent focus being on the district budget, changes to our COVID protocols, and other important matters. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to continue highlighting some of the many accomplishments and efforts that take place in our district every day. Here's a snapshot of what took place just last month. In our continuing effort to share information with the school community, we presented a mid-year review of our district goals, results of the Start Strong assessments, and previews of the 2022-2023 district budget at two board meetings in February. All of those presentations are also included in the February issue of the newsletter in synopsis and posted on the district's website. Our buildings and grounds crews began preparing our outdoors fields for use as we get ready to transition from winter sports to spring sports. We also had continue with the installation of new classroom doors at all elementary schools. And as part of district goal number 4, to provide clear, concise, and consistent messaging, a communication survey was distributed to parents, staff, and students. And I provided a review of the parent surveys in my mid-year, and I look forward to sharing more results of the staff and student survey soon. And as always, a lot of great events and activities took place at our schools, too many to list here, but many of them included charitable efforts like the annual Super Bowl, drives to collect non-perishable items for area food pantries, educational and creative Tuesday activities to mark February 22nd, 2022, and Black History Month commemorations and lessons. And if you haven't already viewed the multi-part series created by the Westfield High School Blue Devil TV, in collaboration with the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Association of Westfield, I highly recommend it. The series is posted on the district's YouTube channel and takes viewers on an African American history walking tour of Westfield. That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Amy, do you have a curriculum report for us?
I do. I do, and now you'll hear me because I turned on my new microphone. Yes, curriculum committee met via WebEx last Friday morning, and we had a packed agenda. There was a lot of items discussed. I'll go through what we talked about at the meeting, and then I'll highlight what we're voting on, what I'm asking you to vote on tonight when we get to the curriculum portion of the agenda. First item that we heard about, which is curriculum for review, is a new journalism class called sports journalism. So we were able to hear from the teacher that oversees both the intro journalism classes and then also is advisor to High Eye and to the relatively new magazine, Optic. There are so many kids that want to take advanced journalism classes that they decided to go in a different direction. To be able to accommodate more basically third level journalism classes, and this one is going to have a heavy online component, which is going to be great for sports coverage at the high school. They were talking about, because of the nature of High Eye and going out to print, the deadline to be able to go off to print cuts off sometimes, particularly some exciting late season playoff runs on the part of some of the sports teams. So taking advantage of the website that already exists for High Eye and working with that and working with Blue Devil Television, they're going to be able to expand that going forward, which should be pretty exciting. So that was really nice to hear about that and hear about the success of the journalism program overall. The curriculum committee also heard from our supervisor of world languages, Enrique Pinque, who reviewed for us the Latin levels 1 through 4 that are taught at the high school. Also, World Languages 1, which is sort of a overall title for the Romance languages of the first level of French, Spanish, and Italian that are taught at the high school. And then there was some discussion about the development of a new class, which is not yet on the agenda because the curriculum is still being worked upon, called Discovering Culture Through Language, which is going to be a new course offering for students at the middle schools. The way things are currently set up, a typical student who goes through all 3 years at our intermediate schools picks French or Spanish and takes all 3 levels. But for anyone who joins the middle school, the intermediate school in process, it's a little hard to sync them up to be able to start the language in 7th or 8th grade. So this course will that is going to be developed will help allow for that, which sounds like a great opportunity. And then we also spent some time talking about some of the curriculum-based policies. Brendan has talked about, because of the Strauss-Esme audit, there's a lot of policies that touch on different parts of our agenda and many different committees that we talk about. So we're splitting up some of them, discussing some in curriculum, some in finance. Obviously, the heavy lift is in the policies committee. We did talk about the summer STEM, or STEAM, if you pronounce it that way, camp, being able to return in person again this summer, and so they're very excited about that. It is a highly sought after summer opportunity, so interesting to hear that we're going to a lottery system to try to allow as many kids as possible to be able to participate. And there was a question about, because there is a fee for that, we did talk all along the way, how does budget affect our curricular offerings? The STEM camp is a service that is paid for by parents, but if for anyone out there who has financial issues, the principals typically know who those people are, but families that qualify for free and reduced lunch can speak to the principals, and tuition won't be charged. So we want to make sure all of our students have the same opportunity to participate, regardless of family circumstances. So we did talk about some things in curriculum. Does anybody from the committee want to comment on any of the discussion that we had? I know 2 of you are here. Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I know a lot of people aren't here, but there might be people at home. So I did want to make a couple of comments in response to the concerns that were raised about the upcoming revision of the sex ed curriculum. Having been a teacher in the district, I thought it might be helpful if I shared some thoughts. First and foremost, I want to know that we hear your concerns. Despite not being able to engage in a dialogue, we are taking notes and we are following up on our community members' concerns in our committee meetings. So in terms of the questions that are brought up regarding the sex ed curriculum, those are being addressed with our Curriculum, Instruction, and Programming Committee, which Amy, Rob, Zahar, and I all sit on. As a former teacher in the district, I did sit on several curriculum writing teams. I can assure you that the documents that were shared several meetings ago were resources, and just that. The process behind creating a curriculum is as follows. First, we need to establish the need, and in the case of the sex ed curriculum, we need to update our curriculum to align with the state requirements. 2, we go through research and evaluation. This is the stage that we look at our curriculum and we see what are we doing currently, where are there gaps, and we also look at other places and see how they're approaching the situation to gauge how we can adjust our practices. And that's where those lesson plans come in. Okay, so just as a resource. The next step is to convene a committee of several teachers and administrators, and they will go through and make the revisions, and from there, those recommendations are presented to the Board of Education SIP committee for review, and also to central administration. After that, it will go to the full board for review. So with that, I want to assure our community that we do not take curriculum design and revision lightly. We are thorough, and we welcome your feedback throughout the process. As you see the revised curricula on the agendas, it's not on today, but in the future, we do ask that you continue to ask questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, no, we did talk about that at the meeting, that it is helpful to hear what parents are concerned about, and we try our best to explain where there may be a bit of a misunderstanding about any of our resources or about what kind of material might be out in the world that people are curious to know if that will find its way into the curriculum. But again, as you highlighted, what was linked to in an earlier presentation a few meetings back was resources. You'll know when we have curriculum to hear about at our board meetings.
For sure.
Thanks for
Thank
that.
you.
Sure. And just to reiterate, when we get to the curriculum portion of the agenda, we'll be voting for first reading on the new course, the sports journalism class at the high school, and then high school level classes, Latin 1, 2, 3, and 4, and world languages 1. And then there is a district field trip on for approval as well. And that's it for curriculum. Our next meeting is April 8th. Oh, sorry, Rob. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries.
Yeah.
I want to kind of piggyback off that a little bit. One of the things that has been enlightening sitting on the committee is watching Dr. Pinero work. And I commented during our committee that he provides us a very nice summary of where he's at in the process. So it's not just, the curriculum is developed, but you're seeing both the timeline and the process that goes along with it. And that helps someone like myself, who is very happy to take feedback, and as is this board, to give folks a general idea of where we are. So why have we not heard about this for a week or two? Well, here is why. And it's not just the process, it's the stage of the process. That's very, very helpful, and that I think gives parents a lot of comfort, because, frankly, the concern they have is everyone's concerned about their kids, right? That's why we're here. So the communication level, Dr. Pinero certainly committed to some excellent communication work, and said, look, let's see how we can make this even more interactive than he's already making it, which is extremely welcome. The other thing I wanted to point out, I didn't want to get lost in the budget talk about have-nots when it comes to curriculum, and seeing creative courses like the sports journalism course, seeing extensions of the languages. We're somehow figuring out how to get 4 levels of Mandarin and 4 levels of Latin, which is the fact that we have the capacity for those courses, and that there is a need for it. One would think, Latin is not, none of us are walking around saying carpe diem, right? But the fact that we have students in the district who have that need and have that interest, and our departments, as a general matter, I'm highlighting languages, can shift and make that work despite whatever funding it is. They're not worried about that. They're not, this is not stopping anyone from being thoughtful or creative. So that is a significant positive. Everybody wants more money to do things, but to me, the real art is, what are you doing with what you have? So I just, I'll double down on that and say it's good to see how much growth we are getting, regardless of where the numbers are. That's not limiting anybody.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, just excellent point, and just one second. It reminded me that at the board table last time, we were talking about the different levels of Mandarin, and the question came up of, could a Mandarin AP class be offered someday? And we discussed it with Mr. Pinkay, who said, this being the first year we've had level 4 at all, we need to see some more demonstrated interest, and that's a possibility, but I told him that I had commented and I had misunderstood. Latin 3 and 3 honors are able to be taught concurrently in one classroom, as are Latin 4 and Latin 4 AP. And so we asked, do you think it would be possible to teach Mandarin 4 and Mandarin 4 AP in the same classroom in the same manner? And it sounds like because Mandarin is a more vivid spoken language with so much more emphasis on speech, that might be harder to pull off than Latin. But it was an interesting conversation to have nonetheless. And since I mentioned it, I was going to ask. Thank you for reminding me to comment on it. Sorry, Sonal, you had a comment?
I just had a question for you, Amy, about the class in the middle school that would be for kids coming in at a higher grade and how they could jump in. Would that also be for students who wanted to switch languages, or is it only for external movement into the district?
I think for students who start in 6th grade, we hope that they will be able to commit to one language for 3 years. That's a good question, and since the course is still under development, we'll hear about it again. So I'll see if I can find out and bring the answer back to you going forward. Yeah, because yeah, we'll find out. Thanks.
Amy, I know we have, like you said, Latin honors at certain levels. Is this to approve those as well, or just the core 1, 2, 3, 4?
I think it's just the 1, 2, 3, 4. Latin 4 AP does have its own curriculum,
Okay.
Which is directed by the college board. That's a good question. I'll double check.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we vote.
All right. Any other questions, comments for Amy? All right. Mike, do you have a facilities report?
Just one thing, tonight during the finance portion of the action items, we will be approving a resolution to redo the Franklin roof. So that's on the agenda. We haven't had any other meetings since we met last week, but we are going to meet again on April 5th. So,
Thank you, Mike. And Amy, finance?
Sorry. Technically, I guess we don't have a report. We have not had a meeting since we had our last finance meeting, which was on the 14th, so the day before our last meeting. And our next finance meeting won't be until the end of April. But of course, the budget looms large during that portion of the agenda. The tentative budget is what we're going to be voting on tonight. So if there are questions or comments about the tentative budget, that's fine, but we will go through a more formal hearing at our April meeting, and we'll take more detailed feedback at that point. I'm sure Dana will run us through the numbers one more time when we get to that point. The other items that are on the agenda tonight are related to awarding a contract for a roof replacement at Franklin, partial roof replacement at Franklin. We're approving tuition for the kindergarten wrap and for the integrated pre-K program, both at Lincoln School. Those amounts are staying the same from this past year. We are also asking for approval of legal services from 2 new law firms that we have not dealt with previously. Well, one on an expanded basis, McManaman, Scott and Brooklyn, Scotland and Bauman, we've dealt with for bond, as our bond counsel before, but we're asking the board to approve them for additional contract work as needed, and also for the Machado Law Group. Those are mentioned as well. So those are the highlights coming up when we get to finance. And our next finance meeting, as I said, will be April 25th.
Thank you, Amy. I do want to note that it's not the complete Franklin roof replacement. It is a partial, as Amy indicated. And this is a roof that was still under warranty when we did all the roofs in the district about a decade ago. That's why we're doing another roof. It's not because it's a problem we didn't foresee. It was just too new of a roof to replace at that time. All right. Any questions for Amy on finance? All right. Long-range planning. No. No report, because we did meet last week and I gave a report then. We have a policy meeting next week, April 4th, and the only governance item on the agenda is the 8 HIBs that we heard last week. And
An executive session.
an executive session, yes. I think that is it for me. Yeah, it helps to have meetings back to back. With that, open this section of the meeting to public comment. During this portion of the meeting, district residents and staff are invited to address the Board of Education on agenda action items only. The board requests that individuals state their name and address for the record, the specific action items they're commenting on, and ask that all remarks be directed to the board president or designate, not to individual members or staff. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility nor will be liable for any comments made by members of the public. If a matter concerning district staff members of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, the superintendent of schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered. Please note that if any member of the public becomes disruptive during the meeting, the president may terminate the participant's statement. Continued disruption may result in the removal from the meeting or adjournment of the meeting. Each speaker's statement will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Anybody like to speak at this time? Going once. Going twice. All right. Moving on to public comment is closed. Moving on to action on governance items. I ask the board to affirm the superintendent's decision in HIV incidents 22E08, 22E09, 22E10, 22E11, 22E12, 22F01, 22F02, and 22L01 for the reasons set forth therein. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Leila. Dana?
Rob Bonaccio,
Yes.
Mike Phelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Leila Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes.
Kristen Sonic Schmelz.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to personnel. I ask the board to approve personnel items number 1 through 9. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sonal. Dr. Gonzalez, do you have any retirements?
Yes. Tonight, I'm announcing with regret the retirement of Lilium Moreno. For more than 9 years, Lilium has been a custodian at the high school where she's been a valued and reliable and dedicated worker. Lilium has a strong work ethic and has taken pride in keeping her areas of the building clean and running smoothly. She is an excellent team player who could be counted on to set up facilities for athletic practices and competitions, as well as the many events that take place at the high school. Lilium will be missed, and we wish her a happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any questions or comments on personnel? All right, Dana?
Rob Bonaccio,
Yes.
Mike Phelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Leila Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes.
Kristen Sonic Schmelz.
Yes.
Thank you. Amy?
I would like the board to consider finance items 1 through 15. Could I have a second? Thank you, Leila. All right. As I mentioned, item number 1 is to approve the tentative budget for our next school year, the 2022-2023 school year. Item number 2 is to approve travel and related expense reimbursements, as we always do at this point as well. Item 3 is to approve and award the contract for the partial roof replacement at Franklin School. 4 and 5 are tuition for the kindergarten wrap and for the integrated pre-K program at Lincoln. And then item 7 and item 8, as I mentioned before, are for new relationships with legal services, new contracts for legal services within Machado Law Group and with McMenamin, Scotland and Bauman. Several on monthly bills. And that is about it. A slight break from our community donations, but I'm sure they'll resume. We live in a generous community, and we're always thankful for that. Any questions on items 1 through 15?
We'll give the public a break because it has only been a week.
This is true. This is true. All right. Dana, roll call?
Robin Nacho,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes.
Kristen Sonic Schmelt.
Yes.
All right, there's no policy items tonight, so Amy, you're up again.
All right. And I did just double check, and maybe we should make a note for the second reading of curriculum items. Sorry, I should say. I would like the board to consider curriculum items 1 and 2. Could I have a second? Thank you, Sonal. Okay. Sorry, I did double check. Latin 3 is, the curriculum document is Latin 3 and 3 honors. And Latin 4 is a curriculum document that outlines Latin 4 and Latin for AP as well. So maybe we'll just make a note for the agenda for next time, just to make it clearer. But yeah, the new curriculum for the sports journalism class at the high school, and then the world languages, Latin 1 through 4, including 3 honors and 4 AP, and the world languages 1 class. And the field trip was, sorry. Does anybody have it in front of them? I need to call it up. I think it was a government, youth and government field trip?
Youth and
government.
Club member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're amending item 1 as written?
I guess so, to include 3 and 3 honors. It's one curriculum document, so
Yep.
it's not a separate curriculum document, so I don't know that it's inaccurate, but it's more complete if we call it 3H, I guess. Okay, as amended then.
Okay.
What are you, I'm sorry, what are you amending?
Just the document name of Latin 3 is actually Latin 3-3H. And Latin 4 is Latin 4-4 AP.
Okay.
Do we need a second to amend it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Rob. Second? Okay. And now we'll vote on the amendment. Is that right, Dana?
Yep.
Okay,
Just give me 1 second.
of course.
Okay. Robin Nacho,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes?
Kristen Sonic Schmelt.
Yes.
Okay. And so, now that we voted to amend
Yep.
the naming, now we will vote to approve
Yep.
the renamed documents and to approve the district field trip. Okay.
Robin Nacho,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root,
Yes?
Kristen Sonic Schmelt.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Amy. There are no notes for the record. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Liaison reports. Kristen?
A bunch, okay. Roosevelt High School Musical, please come. March 24th at 4 p.m. and March 25th and 26th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. And as the announcement said, the tickets are not on sale at the door, so please get them ahead of time online. And then it's Community Service Week, and so on Thursday, our students will be cleaning up Clark Park, and on Friday, the students will be packing food bags for 23 local families and 27 college students who are facing food insecurity right now. The PTSO is also going to be hosting the author James Murray, also known as Murr, on April 25th, and he's going to be sharing a presentation on his new book, Area 51 Interns. At Washington, it's also Community Service Week. They're hosting a community service night on Thursday, March 24th from 6 to 7:30, and the students are going to have the opportunity to learn about local organizations and participate in mini service projects. Some of those would be like potting plants for Sunrise Living, making baby onesies for children supported by Moms Helping Moms, and making animal beds for toys for Linden Animal Shelter, and a couple of other things. And then Washington is also coordinating their first annual multicultural festival to be held on April 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. And the purpose of that festival is to build a foundation of belonging and acceptance by celebrating different cultures and countries as a community. The Westfield Special Education Committee is continuing their virtual events as part of their Meaningful March series. There's going to be one tomorrow evening, actually, at 7 p.m. On the special education rights and classifications, and then another one is coming up on the understanding challenging behaviors, March 30th at 7 p.m. And then lastly, the Westfield Municipal Alliance, along with the Albert Anthony Cahill Foundation and the Matthew Thomas Torriello Memorial Fund, are excited to welcome Stephen Hill back to our Westfield schools. He's going to be working with our 8th grade students at Edison and Roosevelt at the end of April. And there's also going to be an in-person parent program on the evening of Wednesday, April 20th at Edison from 7 to 8:30. Those are all my reports.
Thank you, Kristen. For once, it's not just me. Any other liaison reports? Amy?
Yep, the Franklin PTO Executive Board met on Friday, and I was able to attend their meeting, and they are continuing to return to a form of normalcy as best as possible. They're planning their parent fundraiser, which they call the Bash, which will be the first Friday in May. They were also talking about as I alluded to at our last meeting, I think that their 5th grade play, which I think is will be the one with the Lion King Jr. Sorry. Well, I'll fumble through. Yeah, you're not talking to me, right? Just talking about me? Exactly. Okay, great. And also they are looking forward to the return of family game night. So lots of good things happening at Franklin. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Amy. I did attend the New Jersey School Board Association's Board of Directors meeting on Friday night. Big takeaway from that is the association is in its active phase of recruiting a new executive director. After many years at the helm, Dr. Larry Feinside is retiring, and we eagerly await to find out who his replacement will be. Other than that, it's business as usual there. Any other liaison reports? All right. Opening public comment. During this portion of the meeting, members of the public are invited to address the Board of Education on any topic. The board requests that individuals state their name and address for the record and asks that all remarks be directed to the board president or designee, not to individual board members or staff. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey, and the board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comment made by members of the public. If a matter concerning a district staff member is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal, the superintendent of schools, or the Board of Education, either by telephone, letter, or email. Although the board may not respond to items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered. Please note that if a member of the public becomes disruptive during the meeting, the board president may terminate the participant's statement. Continued disruptions may result in removal from the meeting or adjournment of the meeting. Each speaker's statement will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. If anybody would like to address the board, please come to the podium.
Kyle George, 605 Short Hills Court. I watched the Holocaust curriculum presentation last night. That's what the name of the presentation was, but it really should have been called the Genocide Curriculum because the only required Holocaust education is in 5th grade. And to be honest, the 5th grade curriculum seemed like it was well done. But after that, it's all elective and mostly covers history that is not specifically the Holocaust or World War II education. Ms. Brennan even said at one point, to paraphrase, the kids aren't interested in facts, they're interested in stories. That's quite troubling to me. One point made by Ms. Brennan is that the material covered is always age appropriate. I asked a question about this in Q&A, and I'd like to repeat the actual question, a version of which Dr. Gonzalez asked on my behalf, I believe, during the presentation. This was my actual question. Quote, my daughter received a very vivid presentation about racial bias and the struggle to integrate schools in the 1950s while she was in the 1st grade last year from a guest speaker. Can you explain how that is age appropriate in the 1st grade, but it's not age appropriate to learn about anti-Semitism and the Holocaust until the 5th grade? End quote of my question. To be clear, I'm not necessarily suggesting that children get taught about the Holocaust in first grade, but I'm having a hard time understanding how it's okay to teach them about slavery and 1950s Louisiana school desegregation when they're 7, yet not teach them about anti-Semitism and the Holocaust until they're 11. That certainly doesn't seem equitable to me. When you combine this dichotomy with the controversy over the kindergarten Our Skin book from last year, it sure starts to seem like there's bias here. If you recall, the Our Skin book, which this board affirmed the use of last year, teaches, quote, "A long time ago, way before you were born, a group of white people made up an idea of race. They sorted people by skin color and said that white people were better, smarter, prettier, and that they deserve more than everybody else," end quote. The book later says that, quote, "Racism is also the things people do and the unfair rules that they make about race so that white people get more power and are treated better than everybody else," end quote. I wonder if the Jews, many of whom would be identified as white today, killed during the Holocaust, felt better, smarter, and prettier, or felt like they were getting more power or treated better based on their skin color. Can't you see the absurdity of not teaching about the Holocaust until 5th grade under the guise of age appropriateness, yet teaching kids this falsehood about racism that indirectly denies the Holocaust? I think it's time to take a step back and really think about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George.
Good evening. My name is Janet Onishi, and I live at 759 Knollwood Terrace. I know you need to focus on the budget discussions today and planning on how you can help our children get back on track after experiencing the upheaval of the COVID pandemic. I need to ask you, though, to also devote some time to considering the implications of installing artificial turf fields at Edison Intermediate School. I have been reading the scientific literature to try and understand why there is such confusion about whether playing on artificial turf fields have health hazards. There are reputable published results raising red flags that chemicals in artificial turf have activity in various test tube assays with endocrine disrupting activity and carcinogenic activity. Unfortunately, there are no follow-up experiments using animal models that one would expect to see with these types of in vitro test results. I recognize that you face a hard decision. The children who attend the school use those fields for lunch recess and potentially physical education. They will regularly use these fields. They can ingest and inhale chrome rubber particles from the turf. Many of the children at Edison are prepubescent, placing them at health risk if they are regularly exposed to the chemicals in artificial turf. What should you do with when the scientific research is inconclusive because it's incomplete? The decision you make regarding the Edison Field project will affect thousands of children who attend Edison Intermediate School if artificial turf fields are installed behind the school. If you decide to sign the letter of intent and enter a 30-year lease agreement with the town who develops 2 athletic fields behind Edison, I ask you to consider expanding your requirements. Currently, you have use of the fields for school-based activities from 3 to 6 p.m. on weekdays and for special events such as graduation ceremonies. Please add a requirement that natural grass fields should be installed behind Edison rather than artificial turf fields. I recognize that field capacity is needed in town, and I have no objection to having grass fields behind Edison athletic fields installed. Please carefully consider why some towns and school boards can install natural grass fields while Westfield says they cannot. The bottom line is our children's health should be our highest priority. I believe it is your responsibility to look out for the health and children attending Edison Intermediate School. Over the last several months, I have sent you some information summarizing the literature that I have read. If any of you have any questions, please send me the questions. I will answer them to you. Perhaps one person on the board, President Galligan, could collect the questions. I'll answer them, and that way you can remain anonymous. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Onishi. All right. Any other members of the public who wish to address us tonight? All right. I ask the board to approve the. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I failed to reference the Holocaust presentation, curriculum presentation that was done last night, so I thank Mr. George for bringing it up. It was a presentation that we had about 40 individuals participate. The event was also recorded and will be posted on our website for anyone who was unable to attend. The presentation consisted of both a review of our curricular experience across the K-12 continuum in alignment with the state standards and requirements. So the presentation really tried to outline through examples what the experience looks like at the various grade levels, and I do want to thank and applaud our supervisor, Mrs. Andrea Brennan, who provided the information and presented the material to the attendees. Prior to the event, individuals were offered the opportunity to submit questions that really allowed the presentation to try and tailor to the individuals who had expressed interest in the topic and tried to answer the questions along the way. At the end of the presentation, we reviewed the questions, and anything that hadn't been asked was addressed directly, and anything that had been asked and answered through the presentation, we reiterated. Throughout the course of the event, individuals also had the chance to submit questions through a question submission field. And with about 10, 15 minutes remaining, we tried to answer as many questions as possible, including, as Mr. George had mentioned, questions about, tying the work that we're doing in our curriculum, Holocaust curriculum, with other initiatives. I would just like to highlight that the Holocaust curriculum that we have in Westfield and the presentation that was done last night aligns with the state expectations and standards. And unlike the DEI mandate that was presented by the DOE, it has very specific expectations of what student learning should look like by grade span. The DEI mandate by the state does not have that, which is really what is driving the work of this community and this school community to develop a framework so that we could be able to provide that same level of structure and guidance to our teachers and certainly to our families so that everyone could feel more comfortable about what's being taught, when it's taught, and how it's taught. I think last night the approach of our Holocaust curriculum, which has been in place for many, many years, provides certainly a great framework and a template that can be used to assist us in this endeavor. And certainly the feedback that we received both during and after the presentation would continue to help. So I do want to acknowledge and thank Mrs. Brennan for her presentation, for all the attendees, and once again, using that experience to help address questions such as the question that was asked tonight. How can we align what our expectations are for what we present to students across the elementary, middle, and high school grade level so that we could have some consistency both of expectations of our students and of our staff. So I just wanted to use the opportunity to address that item and highlight that experience. So that concludes my report.
I wasn't able to attend last night, but I just wanted to clarify. While we meet the state can you hear me? I'm okay? While we meet the expectations of the state, that doesn't mean that we're going to stop there, though, correct? Because exceeding them, especially in the times that we are in, I think would be the goal of Westfield, and that the DEI audit will reveal that there are some weaknesses that exist in the Holocaust education, and that we can start to incorporate those across different avenues, correct?
So correct, all of our district curriculum meets and exceeds the expectations. So yes, I would say that is an accurate statement. The DEI audit is an audit of all of our curriculum and all of our initiatives in reference to the DEI requirements outlined by the state, unfortunately without much more detail. But it also does not supersede the annual or five-year curriculum cycle that we have included. So each of those curriculum revisions and realignments continues to refine our practices. So yes, it would continue to review and make sure that our curriculum meets and exceeds the standards.
All right, any other questions, comments from board members?
Just one quick comment.
Yeah, Mike.
You mentioned about we're going to meet sorry. You mentioned about meeting or exceeding the standards, and I know there was a comment that there's a disparity between the first and fifth grade. Will the audit go and address that and see what the disparities are and try to correct them?
I think all told, the audit will highlight and provide those opportunities for us then to go in and dig deeper. So it doesn't provide us the answer, but it highlights those areas for us to then use our professionals, use our resources to then refine our curriculum to address those gaps perhaps, or opportunities for enhancement or further alignment. I think what we're going to find is when you look at the multiple requirements set forth by the state, as well as our own requirements as a school community, there's a lot. There's a lot to be taught in our classrooms in the what seems to be a shortened and increasingly short amount of time and a great amount of material. So trying to find those overlaps, trying to find a crosswalk where these ideas actually complement one another so that we could try to make the connections for our students, but also maximize the learning experience for our teachers and students so that things aren't piled on top of each other, but rather interconnected with one another. So that's really where I see the audit being able to be instrumental in providing that. But then once it identifies those opportunities, then it's up to the professionals to develop the curriculum, the lessons, or the units to address them.
Good. I'm just concerned about, we've seen these swastikas in all different grade levels, and making sure we continually reinforce and address that at all grade levels and not necessarily, obviously it's a different type of material you're presenting at the first grade than you were in high school, but just to continue to reinforce it.
If I could just chime in for a second, I was able to view the presentation in real time last night, and it's based on PowerPoint slides, so it will be I think helpful and relatively easy to follow for someone to look through that when it becomes available, and we have it posted on the website. So I would encourage people to do that. I would say that Mrs. Brennan did emphasize that the state standards, as Dr. Gonzalez said, are age-specific. And so there's a reason why we don't teach the history of the Holocaust to first graders. We teach compassion and respect and understanding differences and empathy. And, so that's what we mean when we talk about grade-appropriate behaviors. And for this particular, for Holocaust curriculum, as Dr. Gonzalez says, the state has been more explicit in terms of what's expected at different grades. There's always discussion of, what could we do more, or what do peer schools do, or what are we hearing from the community? So that's the kind of thoughtful discussion and talk about what we could improve or what we could enhance. And one of the things that we may be seeing at SIP at some point is there's some discussion about an elective class at the high school on Holocaust studies. More specifically, it is addressed in different courses and at different times. But I think one of the things that is emphasized throughout is that this is not just a point in history. It's, what do we know about Holocaust and genocide, and what can we learn from that beyond just the facts of it happened once, to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
I think that, Mike, I'm going to just kind of build on what you were saying. I think that's exactly the point. Like, it's not necessarily a Holocaust curriculum. It's what have the Jewish people experienced in terms of, segregation and discrimination and persecution, and for a first grader to learn about the Holocaust might be inappropriate developmentally. if you're looking at pictures and talking about things in a very like detailed way, but maybe including those topics, including Jewish history in the topics when you're talking about inclusion, you know, our story should also be represented at these grade levels. I think that's what I don't know if I misinterpreted you. That's certainly what I'm thinking.
I'm not necessarily talking, you know, we talk about everything about the Holocaust. It's more, we've seen these swastikas in the schools, and some child unknowingly may scroll a swastika somewhere and not really understand what the meaning of it is. And just providing them the guidance to just know that that is inappropriate no matter what grade level you're at.
I think one of the concerns I hear is that the fifth grade does it really well, and then from there on it becomes an elective. It's not covered consistently as the kids get older, and so maybe that's one of the things that we can address when we do our DEI audit. I also had another question. Have we heard from the New Jersey Department of Education in terms of any guidance they're going to give us in terms of getting that kind of alignment that you speak of with Holocaust?
At this point, the only resources they have shared do not include anything that specific.
So
Nor
then-
do I expect to get anything more specific, unfortunately.
So then what I hear you saying is that's kind of Westfield's goal then, to create something?
That's the
our teachers.
framework that was adopted as a district goal this year, was to be able to provide that level of structure and detail for our families, for our students, and for our teachers.
All right. Anybody else? All right, I ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purposes of discussion matters rendered confidential by state and federal law, including harassment, intimidation, bullying incidents, and be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we are in private session, and we will not be returning to public session tonight.